Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our Saturday online Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Series. Today is our 54th week. We start our program with prayer by Krishnaveni ji. Over to you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Deham pranamapi indriyan yapi chalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu Sri balanta jadopamas tvahamiti Branta brisham vadinah माया शक्ति विलास कल्पित महाव्यामोह संहारिणे तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमस्कार.
Thank you, Veniji. Thanks for joining us as and when we need you. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Today's lecture will be by Sri Ramesh Hangloo on Radio Sharda, Essence, Usefulness, and Prospective. It is really a coincidence that we have been covering Sri Sharda Temple and the Sharda heritage consecutively for 3 sessions. Hopefully, that will be reality soon. We offer our namaskaram to His Holiness Sri Shankara Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal and thank Kanji Mutt for Kashmir Initiative series. Kanji Mutt has always been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. Now, Ramesh ji has been very closely associated with radio and TV as broadcaster and TV journalist. He is the founder. He is the founder of world's first Kashmiri language radio station, Radio Sharda 90.4 from Jammu, India's #1 community radio station, which is listened in over 108 countries. He is also founder, president, Peer Panchal, cultural, educational, social, environmental, and sports organization and NGO. And he has been a radio presenter and the anchor of many long-running radio shows. National Award winner, Best Radio Programming, Radio Sharda. Organized by Ministry of I&B and presented by Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Sri Prakash Javadekar in 2019, and felicitation by Mayor of Luton, United Kingdom, for promotion of culture in 2009. Born in a lower middle class family at a picturesque village in Kashmir, educated in the rural schools wherein the thrust would lie on cultural language and games besides academics. Always top from primary to middle schooling, involved in various campaigns covering health, awareness, education, social uplifting, and environmental protection, preservation, and sports activities. I also need to mention that after seeing the flyer, I got messages from so many people. Here is one. Great, Ramesh ji is a torch bearer who has kept the Kashmir Pandit voices alive through radio. His service is to the community is very immense. Thank you for inviting him. From Dr. Archana Kukru from the US. Although radio is almost vanished, Radio Sharda is always alive over the internet, and Ramesh ji will explain more about it. Over to you, sir.
Namaskaram. My great regards to Shankaracharya ji, Vijendra Saraswati ji, and Kachipuram, Kanchi Kamakoti Math. I'm thankful for V. Krishna ji to invite me in the show, and I pay my gratitude to Bahanji who recited just in the beginning of the program. And I must confess that I am 300 kilometers away from Jammu in a very hilly land wherein we are celebrating tomorrow a cultural event on the rural people and for the rural artists on our banner Peer Panchal. And I had to reach one day before here. I had to spend night in the hilly areas. And probably, whether good luck or something, the electricity went off just for this program. And you'll be astonished that I am holding this program among the candles. So it's a candlelight program. Doesn't matter. It should be
I
a
could
better
see
one.
that, yes.
Yes. And since before I'll talk on the essence, usefulness, and perspective of the radio Sharda, I need to say something which I have learned and which I have had, that whenever challenge to the Hinduism emerged, the saviors appeared and Hinduism was always saved. Like Jagadguru Shankaracharya ji, Chanakya, and Guru Gobind Singh ji, they have given us a way to live and live with greatness. As far as Kashmir is concerned, Kashmir is Devbhumi, it is Sharda Desha, and definitely a seat of learning. And the learning has started from the Vedic era to Buddhism, Shiva philosophy, and to other religion from 1336 onwards. As Devbhumi, everyone would adopt the lifestyle of a rishi and feel contented and elevated by sadhana. Kashmir, a land of rishis and shaktipitas, is revered from times immemorial. As people of intellectual pursuits were not only born here, but trained in different lifestyles like history, religion, culture, ethics, drama, music, literary workers, and were good rulers also. And after that, as we all know, that Kashmir was Sati Sar, and a demon in the city, sir, named Jalud Baba, would always torture the citizens, which were Nagas, and would disturb their life, would keep them hunting, and those denizens of that in the area prayed to Rishi Kashpa for their kind of tortures being suffered. So the Kashpa granted them prayers and asked Ananta to drain up the water of this lake, identified that demon, killed him, and the land was saved. So the civilization of the land did not flourish in the Kashmir only, but it spread from different times to different areas like Tibet and other Asian countries. And we should talk that the soul and the spirit of enlightenment, which is said to be the cradle of civilization, was in Kashmir. As I'm talking of the essence as I'm talking for my topic to the essence in the spirit, and I should say that the cradle of civilization, Kashmir, has given the entire world lot of knowledge, lot of dimensions of living, and lot of ecstasy. And when we talk of the different lifestyles in Kashmir, we should not forget that the Granth Nilamat Purana is 16th century document. It contains and describes the rituals and evolutionary history, thereby giving details of festivals, customs, and social life of Kashmir Mandala. It was recorded in at the end of 6th century and gives us details of Nagas and Aryans who also got settled in Kashmir after being allowed by Neel Raja and who adopted all the rituals. So the Aryans who would live on the banks of Saraswati also came to Kashmir and wanted to settle down in Kashmir, and the Raja granted them. But with the adoption of the culture of that land, they also were allowed to settle there. And when we talk of Kashmir, from the very primitive age of Kashmir, we should say that the Vedic era, an ancient culture of Kashmir was Vedic culture. And with its growth, some Vedic hymns were composed. The Bharat Nati Shastra, which is notably as ancient encyclopedic treatise of the arts and influenced dance, music, and literary traditions in Indian culture, originated from Kashmir. Vedic culture of Kashmir says that the first civilized man appeared in Kashmir. As some excavations in Burzahama derived that of a Shri Chakra and fish, which always would say that the civilization of the land had emerged from Kashmir. And after that, Buddhism also established in Kashmir. Buddhism also flourished in Kashmir. And it traveled from different areas from the Kashmir. And then Kashmir was the seat of Sanskrit learning also. Best institutions of Sanskrit learning were in Kashmir. As a founder of Sanskrit grammar, Panani was born here and taught disciples of entire Bharat. And Sanskrit, after the Sanskrit, we can say that the philosophy which appeared in Kashmir and found its roots and dimensions was Trika philosophy, which is known as Shaiv philosophy. Shaivism or non-dualistic philosophy. Kashmir Shaivism flourished in Kashmir and carried forward by Kashmiri Brahmins. And it was later found, and it was, yes, it was found inscribed on the Mahadev peak by the Vasugupta, who saw in his dreams, and Triambak Aditi gave the Tikra philosophy. Later, the legends of the Kashmir Trika philosophy carried it forward, like Abhinav Gupta, Bhatkalatha, Utpala Acharya, and ultimately the legacy was carried forward by Swami Lishmanju, who gave it a worldwide dimensions. And it is said that Abhinav Gupta went into the cave in Kashmir in 1025 with 400 disciples and is settled in that cave of Kashmir. After that, when we see the historical document of Kashmir, we will have to find Kalhana's Rajtarangi, which is from ancient era to 1149 AD. Krishna was a great historian who recorded the cultural traditions, the rise and fall of kingdoms, and the victory and defeat of people of Kashmir. And it had started from the son of Jarasandha, Damodara, who after fighting Lord Krishna to take revenge of his father's death was also killed by Lord Krishna. And later Lord Krishna appointed Yashomati as a ruler of Kashmir till her son attained maturity to rule. So the empowerment, equal treatment to women also emerged from Kashmir thousands and thousands of years ago by Lord Krishna himself. Kalana writes, Kailasha is the best part, but Trulok is Kashmir. And we should know that there are great rulers, there were great rulers in Kashmir who left an imprint on the history. For example, Lalita Aditya, most powerful king of Karkota dynasty, extended his empire from Kashmir to Azerbaijan and south of India and ruled from 724 to 761 AD. He built number of temples and prominent is the Sun Temple in Martin, established city of Parihaspura near Srinagar, and constructed Shiv temples, Vaishno temples, and Buddhist temples. Then we have another great king, Avantivarman, who was a definitely Hindu ruler in reality and patronized great scholars and established great rule of law. Then the Dida, the woman ruler of Kashmir who successfully ruled and conquered the places as courageously. Then after 1338 AD, there was a definite kind of pattern adopted to target, attack, and kill or convert the Hindus by Muslim Afghans and Pathans. And in that era, after Sikandar Butt's Shikan led a reign of terror and killed thousands and thousands of Kashmiri Pandits. After him, his son, what is called Zainul Abidin, who got ill and couldn't find treatment for his illness, was then treated by a Kashmiri Pandit, Shirya Bhatta, and in return, he asked him, what do you want? And Shirya Bhatta asked that all the Kashmiri Pandits who have fled from Kashmir should return back. And there's a story that the Pandits had returned back in that era. But Shirya Bhatta did not ask him for any wealth and other things. He asked that the community which had been tortured and thrown out of the valley should come back. And in Pathan, the Azim Khan, most cruel ruler, who created a terror in Kashmir, but Birbal Dar, who was his accounts officer, took place that this Pathan rule should go. And he changed the course of history after he went to Maharaja Ranjit Singh and kept his son as mortgage to Ranjit Singh. Asked him that if you don't will, you can kill his son. So, establishment of Bharatiya rule has come from that era in Kashmir, which later culminated in Dogra rule, wherein Gulab Singh, Rambir Singh, Pratap Singh, and Hari Singh ruled Kashmir. I should say, in dramatics, like I said about the Bharatnatyam, Kashmiris have enlightened the entire Bharatvarsha. And as musicians, we should not forget Sarangadeva, a very famous musicologist. The musicologist who attained classic Sanskrit texts on music and drama. He has been authoritative in Indian classical music, was born in Kashmir in 1175. We should not forget the Kalidasa also, classical Sanskrit author who is often considered the ancient India's greatest poet and playwright. This is the essence, which means that why shouldn't we remember our past? And why shouldn't we educate the entire Bharatvarsha or the world that what the Kashmir has given to the entire world? We should not forget that Kashmir was never a land of appeasement. Kashmir was never a land Bhog Satali. Kashmir was a land of literary pursuits. Kashmir was a land of intellectual acumen. Kashmir was a land of religious philosophies. Kashmir was land to establish the entire Bharatiya culture. So we have a lot of great essence which compels us to come forward and spread the knowledge to the entire world, particularly to the community in exile or in dispersal. Let me say, before I start the usefulness of Radio Sharda, let me say the last king of Hindu rule in Afghanistan was Bhimapala in 1122, 1022 AD. And then mighty Ranjit Singh, who died in 1839. And the Kashmiri Pandits would understand the majoritarianism. They existed till 1989 with full understanding of the majoritarianism and the might of Islam having certain convictions in their mind. So we should not blame the people who live in Afghanistan, as the Hindus in other parts of the world would enjoy and say that Afghan Hindus are suffering, they are leaving, they are vacating. Then we should not say that the people in Lahore were vacating, losing, and then we should not say the people in Kashmir were vacating, losing. It's not a challenge to the people who reside at a place, the Hindus who reside at that place. It's challenge to the entire Hindu community. One has to think it in broader dimensions. One has to understand the dimension. And I said in the earlier that Jagadguru Shankaracharya was the savior of Hinduism. And Dashmesh, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and even Chanakya played a role. We should have somebody who should understand certain things in broader perspective and make a plan. So, in that, after displacement, we established an organization, an NGO, which was named as Peer Panchal, as I'm in the belt of Peer Panchal today. Peer Panchal is a region which definitely connects Kashmir with Jammu. I am not of that opinion wherein the people say that it disconnects, it is a disconnect between Kashmir and Jammu. I say that it is a region which connects Kashmir with Jammu. And we have to work in this region and in entire Kashmir and Jammu for, for preserving our heritage, ancestry, culture, language, because we have a rich ancestry. Kashmir was considered and is still considered the cradle of civilization. And in Peer Panchal, we took a lot of initiatives. I have heard a lot of people saying about Sharda. And I wish anybody who works in the field, anybody who works in any area, should work with enthusiasm. Should not be working for taking certain benefits, for moving without any cause. If everybody will work with enthusiasm, they're all welcome. Sharda concept was designed by Peer Panchal. As before, it was taken by even Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh 1996 as Jai Sharda Jai Bharat. And later, Peer Panchal issued a press conference in 1999 that we have to go to Sharda temple at some deity. Then we had then the governor of Jammu and Kashmir and the Professor Amita Gupta of Vice Chancellor of Jammu University. They would also work for this with Peer Panchal and had designed certain programs for it. Then there was a group of South Asian journalists who came to Jammu and Kashmir. It was in 2005. And in fact, I was the only person who was asked there to explain about the Sharda, and I explained with them. Then our journalist brothers went there. It was Ashwini ji, the then reporter of Aaj Tak, who directly asked the question in Pakistan to the authorities that why don't you keep Sharda in your archaeological map? And after his question, 1 lakh rupee was, allotted to the archaeological department for preserving of Sharda. It's a very old history. Then people like working for Sharda might not be knowing it. And when I went to London in Luton Mela, there was a meeting wherein I questioned the POK Prime Minister Sadarati Khan. And he asked me that, you come, we're not going to stop. Who took an initiative in 2nd October 2010 and went to Uri to cross the border. It was a mission to enlighten the spirit about the Sharda Devi, because we all consider that it is our deity. Then as Peer Panchal, we established certain things wherein we are celebrating Kashmir Day celebrations yearly, and a lot of Prakash programs, seminars in J&K and above. So having said that, Peer Panchal has been working as an NGO for culture, for social, for environment and other issues. So This becomes the essence of Peer Panchal and Radio Sharda to promote this civilizational credit, promote this concept of great civilization to our youngsters, to our progeny, and to the entire Bharat, and to educate the entire Bharat that it's Kashmir who has given a lot of things to the entire Bharat, and now it is the duty of Bharat to return it back. Having said that, I have been asked once by India for Kashmir organization to give some program. So I said that if Kashmir has given a lot of things to India, then why Bharat or the Bharati people or the Bharati Hindu should not return? And in my opinion, if 7 lakh have left, why shouldn't 70 lakh go back? So let me come to usefulness of Radio Sharda. When we talk of 1989 and 90, it was a massacre. It was a tragedy. It was seeing our kind of friends, relatives, and other getting killed in front of our eyes. Nobody will come to rescue. There was confusion. There was chaos. There were 99:1 ratio. The fight was like that. So everybody had to come out of Kashmir and settle in a different place. One should understand that the people who had habit of living under 30-degree temperatures were forced to live in 45, 46, 47, and up to 49-degree temperatures. What would happen in the condition? And they were living in tents. They were in the open fields. There was no medicinal backup. But they managed. Anyhow, a lot of people died, a lot of people sacrificed, and ultimately people managed. And we as an organization had searched that the people had lost the proud of being and proud of belonging. So in that case, Radio Sharda was an enlightenment. It was a light. When on 5th of December 2011, a radio voice appeared in air. Lot of people were so excited, so happy, and they would think that their proud of belonging has returned. That they were all proud of being a Kashmiri cultured and Kashmiri cultured 7,000-year society. After that, radio did a lot of programs. We had a challenge that the community should celebrate certain festivals together. And the Shivratri is one of the topmost festivals which every Kashmiri Pandit celebrates with dignity. And we try to reach to everybody by switching on the puja of Shivratri at one time. And nobody would imagine that 70% of our community had puja together. So, besides that puja, certain awareness like political, intellectual, historical, cultural, religious, linguistic, and awareness about the ritual. It was taken very, very seriously by the community and everybody appreciated it. Number second, people had lost the voice. People were feeling that they are in isolation. People were feeling that they have been left to lurch. So it was sort of voice to voiceless. So it became a voice of the people of the community, wherein they could project their lot of problems, wherein they would feel connected to their roots, and they were all, happy and light. Our concept is instructions need to be followed. Compliance is not learning, like law. Everything should be followed. We ask everybody to follow what are our religious, ritualistic, and other social concepts. And in this case, it is the usefulness of education. When we talk of perspective, there are 2-3 points which one should realize about the perspective. When I say essence, usefulness, and the perspective is the generations of tomorrow, the generation of tomorrow is being prepared today as we do not have a strong institution. The survival of the community will get jeopardized. We have to establish strong institutions so that the today's generations are prepared. Today's generations learn. Today's generations are aware. So by establishing institutions, the perspective of ours becomes enlightenment. We have to prepare the generations. We have to give them we have to connect them to their roots. We have to tell them that we had a glorious past. We have to tell them that we suffered also. We have to tell them that we have to stand on our own legs. And second is, effective credible institutions can shape ideological and social imperatives. When we will establish an institution, we have to make them effective and credible, so that shape and ideological social imperatives are built up. There are a lot of degenerations appearing in the society. We have to establish such institutions, we have to establish such ideologies, and we have to connect to the generations now. Another point is, communities survive by managing internal crises by external problems, and by establishing institutions of excellence in extensive manner. There are internal crises in the communities also. We have to establish institutions in such a reality so that the external problems can be tackled to get the internal, crisis eroded, and the institutions can play a part. I wish a lot of people should come with different institutions instead of going and getting carried away by only one thought. Now we have a challenge in the perspective that different lifestyles have and patterns have emerged as a result of changing employment avenues and professional opportunities. But in this case, the disconnect in the community is being bridged up by Radio Sharda. And in case of Kashmir, we need to, perceive a bigger picture. because ethnic cleansing and diluting the population and changing the demography pan India is a cause of concern. I wish that all these 3 points would have reached to you and given my perspective about today's talk.
Thank you, Ramesh ji. That was a great recap of not just history. It sounded more like a recap of what we have been doing in the last 52 weeks. You touched upon every topic that we covered. I don't know if you have seen our series before, but it was a wonderful recap that you did. It was very nice. And you also made a very passionate plea. You said about establishing strong institutions.
Incredible, yes.
Don't, yes, and also talked about challenges. Aren't we going in the right track now after all these years of 30 years of turmoil and what went wrong and all? Now, aren't we on the right track and things are taking shape slowly?
Yes, to some extent, I feel the tracks are always right, but vision and mission are the two things wherein one has to evaluate and focus in such a way so that it is not deviated nor the rhythm is deflected in any point of time. In that case, we need some strong and pure torch bearers or the leaders or the kind of person who always work for the thought, who always work as an inspiration. In that case, planning with definite perspective and proper care, then we are always in the right direction.
Now, you also mentioned about Radio Sharda, listened to in over 100 countries, I believe.
Yeah.
So, these 100 countries is where displacement took place, and all these Kashmiris dispersed all over like that in so many countries.
See, the dispersal of Kashmir and Kashmiri Pandits has been a long story. Kashmiri Pandits having getting dislocated and dispersed from Kashmir for a lot of reasons from hundreds and hundreds of years. And after 47, when we got freedom and we got government institutions, even if somebody who is hearing Radio Sharda must have heard, the intrusion of luminaries who are settled around the world. And how did they go out of Kashmir? Suppose a very intellectual doctor is being posted 400 kilometers away from Srinagar, who has a lot of degrees, and there is nobody parallel to him in Srinagar, where he is needed most in the state hospital. And the doctor takes blood that I will not work here because neither my profession and nor my degrees nor my expertise, not my kind of wisdom is being respected here. So he left. He left and went to European countries or America or other places. So this dispersal has been happening from lot of years. But the best part with the people who had left earlier before 90 was that they were connected to the roots. because their parents, grandparents, other people associated, they were in Kashmir. So neither they could disconnect themselves from the language, nor they would be able to disconnect themselves from the ritual. So living thousands and thousands miles away from Kashmir, they were always connected with language and ritual. So there are a lot of people who have been, I mean, who came to Radio Sharda and Tribute. They were speaking very fluent Kashmiri than any kind of person born after 1994 in June. So this was a difference. Now, a basic and the foremost challenge is that the entire community has come out of the Kashmir. So they have their progeny has no idea of their roots and other things which are in Kashmir. So they are a bit disconnected. That's why I said the connect to the language and culture, sense of belonging, proud of belonging. So that kind of sense of belonging, proud of belonging had a sort of difference. So in that case, institutions are to build up, institutions have to come. And unless and until we build up this sense and proud of belonging, those institutions might find weakness at certain point of
You mentioned that Radio Sharda is totally in Kashmiri language, right?
time.
It's no English. You mentioned to me earlier. Now, with the new generation, uh, it's likely that they don't speak Kashmiri. So, how do you reach? You also talked about next generation. Um, how do you reach the next generation? Do you? I'm sure you probably conduct classes for Kashmiri through Radio Sharda too, right?
Yeah. See, that's good. That's a challenge to us. And now we have definitely diluted certain program wherein we make one person talks in Hindi and another person talks in Kashmiri.
Hmm.
And we wish that the progeny, the youngsters who have not lived in Kashmiri kind of culture and atmosphere, but understand Hindi, will cope up with those kind of programs wherein Hindi and Kashmiri are being clubbed together. We have challenges. This is not that we say that we don't have any challenge. We have challenge. We have challenge for progeny. So in that case, we are trying to cope up with the challenges, but challenges are challenge. Challenges will come. And for that matter, talking in English. Very little people of our community are who don't understand Hindi or who don't understand Kashmiri. They're very kind of less number. This challenge is emerging among the youngsters who are still born or who are up to the age of 8 or 9 because their parents had shifted. Definitely, they were displaced from Kashmir. Then they went to the India for kind of professionals and other things, earning and all that. And their children born there, they couldn't, get that concept of Kashmiri living and how also. And that challenge we are having for those youngsters, we are also planning certain things. I mean, we have to have under, get understanding of this also.
See, our programs are all in English,
Yeah,
even though at times we do some Hindi presentations.
yeah.
Maybe you should promote our cultural heritage series through or inform over your Sharda radio. So we want to connect
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the next generation.
we definitely we sometimes are trying to make certain English kind of maybe of a program wherein there is Hindi English mix. We do try to play those programs. There's no kind of bar on us. For us, we have to promote 50% timings for our own language. Other 50% we can promote other languages also. We are also doing it. But basically, our main challenge is that our language and culture should come. This is our, we are involved for this, and we need that this should come up, and that will be our success at the end of the day. If it comes, we are trying. And as I say that as I say, we have been promoting the culture of different areas, and I said in the beginning that I am in such a hilly place wherein when I started the electricity went off, and I am giving my presentation. 3, 4 candles are lit here. It's a very good kind of. So these challenges appear. We have to do the program tomorrow. We have a very good program where almost 1,000 people in the entire vicinity of the village will come together, and their artists, and they all will perform. We have a lot of very reasonable guests and also there. But these challenges will come up. These challenges will come up with everyone. And anybody who is in the field of working after facing challenges will always get success.
No, it's quite a challenging work, especially with digital media. You are still continuing with the audio, that
Yeah.
too, radio and internet. It's quite a challenge, and it's great that you are keeping the spirit alive and connecting with the next community, next generation of Kashmiris.
Challenges we are connecting. Our mission is our vision. As I said, the vision and mission, we are always aiming for the cultural and the other identity of Kashmir. Kashmir is not that, it is the land of boom. Presently, what is being, given an perception that it has been given a perception that Kashmir is, there are so many people who are visiting Kashmir, and lot of people after marriage are going to Kashmir, and other people who are in Kashmir, they are enjoying all that. And when we talk of thousands and thousands, well, Kashmir was never a boom. As I said earlier in my presentation, it was always a seat of learning. So, in case of this, this is a challenge to everyone that the originality should be restored. And in Kashmir, I wish that government takes cognizance that religious tourism and in fact institutions of meditation, institutions of elevating our soul, institutions of enlightening our soul, institutions of giving a great, I mean, back of religion to the humanity come up. It's not that institutions for tourism, institutions for bog, institutions for other things should come up, for eating habits, for killing, the slaughtering, goats and other, and making a lot of other dishes and all. It's not that. Kashmir was never that boomy. Kashmir was always a cradle of civilization. Kashmir was always a giver, a torch bearer for the entire Bharat. Kashmir was always a land which emerged, enlightenment to everyone whosoever wished. Even Adi Shankaracharya ji, Leela Rabada Thapata Luka. It was a sort of enlightenment to everyone whosoever visited Kashmir, especially in the field of religion, culture, ethics, knowledge, and humanities, and the other concepts of life. It was never that we would go for a bog and other things in Kashmir and promote this kinds of thing. That it was never, historically saying, it had never kind of that intention.
Thank you, Ramesh. Let's hope and pray that we return to that past glory and the greatness of Kashmir very soon, and see you all back in Kashmir. Thank you
Yes,
very
I
much,
wish that.
and we look forward to seeing you again in our program. Jai Jai
Thank you.
Shankar.
I wish that entire Bharati Hindus should come and settle in Kashmir. I wish everybody should come. My pleasure is that
Sure,
everybody should make an
we'll do
initiative to
that.
come and settle. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar ji.
Namaskar.
We conclude our program today, and we thank our viewers. Our subscription status is steadily growing, and we hope to reach 1,000 members very soon. We have more speakers lined up till December with interesting topics. So please stay tuned to Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Program every Saturday, um 7 p.m., 7 to 8 p.m. We want to thank Kamakoti.tv and Facebook, YouTube channels of Kanchimat and VDSP for streaming. And not to forget, as we always mention, India's leading only Tamil newspaper, Dinamalar, is giving a great coverage um, to our program. So if you read Dinamalar in the south, if you read Tamil, you would see our program details. We look forward to seeing you again next Saturday. Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.